Hi, I'm Graham from Second Era of Moles, and if you've clicked on this video accidentally, 90 seconds is all I ever ask. Welcome back to another week that was on Pokemon Masters X. We've had a lot going on this week. We've had the Champion Stadium, we've had the continuation of the Villain event for Soho, we've had the Team Skull Crash Course, we've had a Galactic Extreme Battle event, we've had Xerneas return in the Legendary Stories, so plenty to be getting on with, so let's get to it. So starting off with the Champion Stadium, where we're still in the Johto region, in round 1 this week you get a special attack reduction. I chose to take on Will with a Poison Trap team of Koga and Crobat, Cygnus, Leaf and Venusaur, and Viola and Masquerain. It's good to know that your Poison Trap strategy can still work despite all of the changes that have happened over the past year or so. I haven't used Venusaur for a while, so I thought, yeah, this week she makes the cut, and I think she works really well in this situation because she can cause poison to everyone with her Razor Leaf. That means Koga doesn't have to focus on poison, and can get on with doing X speed to raise everyone's evasiveness, and then do move like a shadow to boost his own stats. So while those two are doing that, Viola's doing Infestation to set trap, and then getting on with Struggle Bug to reduce everyone on the enemy team's special attack even further. Once you get down to that first sync move, it goes to Leaf and Venusaur. That brings Mega Venusaur onto the field of play. I have her gridded so that she has Adrenaline as well, so it takes one off your sync move countdown. When you get into that second phase, you're carrying on with Struggle Bug with Viola. You're using any more trainer moves that Koga might have left over. This is where you use Mega Healing with Venusaur. Now that it's Mega Venusaur, she gets an attack boost as well. You get sync move countdown, everyone gets passive healing. Oh, it all works well together, doesn't it? Your second sync move then is going to go to Koga because it's powered up when the enemy team is all poisoned. It's going to come around very quickly, so you're guaranteed to get 2 sync moves in before Will even gets 1. In this phase, Venusaur got poisoned for me from the support on the left there. Forget what it was. So have your potions at the ready in case she starts taking big damage from that. Will's sync move is going to come reasonably soon after. It does alright damage, it probably takes about half of everyone's health, but because they've got passive healing, you're going to be getting that back anyway. So when you go back on the offensive, you're carrying on with Venoshock, you're using more Struggle Bug, you're using Razor Leaf as well. Don't forget that if you're running low on the move gauge, Viola has a whole set of trainer moves that you probably haven't used up to this point because you haven't needed them. The poison and trap damage are going to chip away at Will's Exeggutor, and that's going to faint way before you get to your third sync move. That means that you've got to start targeting the sides, you put trap on them. The Tsarina managed to take out Venusaur with its first attack. It wasn't too powerful, it was just Venusaur had taken a lot of poison damage, and I sort of embraced that, and I've gone with a big Frenzy Plant as my last hurrah, but didn't manage to get it in. But the status conditions are going to wear those two down reasonably quickly, and then you're home skipping free with a Fwahahaha to victory. In round 2, your condition is a move gauge boost. I chose to take on Karen for this one. She was weak to rock types, so I went with Kukui and Olivia and their Lichen Rocks, and Dawn and Torterra as my support. Olivia is still my rock chick, she's still my go-to on a rock weak stage, and I don't think that's going to change for a while. So she starts off with X attack and Hard as Diamonds to raise up her stats. Kukui is doing Leer to reduce the enemy's defense, so make sure that you've got those stats reductions on. Dawn and Torterra are doing X defense and maybe a Razor Leaf if you don't get any defense refreshes. When that first sync move comes, it goes to Dawn because she's 6X for me at least. Into that second round, and Kukui is carrying on with this Leer. Olivia's using any leftover trainer moves. Dawn's using up her Razor Leafs and any X defense refreshes she might have got from that. When Olivia's used up all of her trainer moves, she's going on to Stone Edge. You could maybe use a Good as New on Dawn at this point because she's taken some hits, and if you want to be 100% sure she survives Karen's sync move, then you could do that. Otherwise, you'll probably use it straight afterwards anyway. But Olivia's sync move comes, and it takes out both of the sides, leaving just Karen's Honchkrow in the middle there. Around this time, it'll be Karen coming in with her sync move as well. And it does sort of, meaty damage, but by that point, it's not enough because there's that low on health. And Olivia's going to be coming in with big stone edges. Kukui's going to be moving on to Accelerock, and Dawn's still doing her thing in there. The only thing is that Honchkrow might use a Twister after its sync move. That can do some flinching, and that flinching hit Olivia for me, which was irritating because I missed out on that sort of big stone edge damage that would have ended the battle a lot more quickly. But in the end, between Kukui and Olivia, they did enough damage to take out Karen before I got to my third sync move. On to round 3 then, where you get a permanent field effects conditions. I chose to take on Bruno because he was weak to grass types, and I thought, yep, let's go with a Sun team. So that Sun team was Brendan and Sceptile, Lyra and Meganium, and then Jasmine and Steelix as my sort of tanking support there. So it takes a little bit to get into this one. It takes a lot of setup, but when you get to it, this is a really good team, and they all sort of play off of each other quite well. So in the early stage, the order of your moves is important to maximize that move gauge. I started off with a direct hit from Brendan, Energy Ball from Lyra, X Defense from Jasmine. Then after that, I went with a no turning back from Brendan to boost his stats. Lyra then moved on to using Dire Hit All. Jasmine used a Clang to get that permanent crit hit protection and stats reduction protection, and also refresh the move gauge. That meant that Brendan could come in with a Leaf Storm as his next move. Lyra again uses Direct Hit All, and Jasmine used a Gyro Ball. When you get that first sync move, you're giving it to Lyra so that she can get that Sun going and boost up both herself and Brendan in the middle there. Jasmine uses up any of her X defenses that have been left over, otherwise Gyro Ball, Brendan's Leaf Storm all the way at this point. The Sun allows Lyra to use Sunny Side Up, which is going to give attack boosts. It's also going to give speed boosts, which helps Brendan out because he can have ramming speed and inertia, so those regular attacks and sync moves are hopefully going to be doing big damage. When you get down to that next sync move, it's going to go to Jasmine to get Mega Steelix onto the field of play, and also 6x boost always comes in handy. Onyx's sync move comes next, is middle of the road. So after that you're going back to Leaf Storm. I chose to do one at each of the sides because I was thinking, well, if I can make sure that my sync move is going to snipe both of them, it's going to make this a whole lot easier. And it almost worked. Lyra's going with Energy Ball still. If you're running low on move gauge, you've probably got Clangs left over. You might get some refreshes as well. Otherwise, Gyro Ball with Jasmine. Comes down to the next sync move, and that's going to go to Brendan. It took out one side. It left the other side with like this tiny little bit of health. It's like, ah. And then Onyx was on not very much health. So a couple more Leaf Storms and maybe an Energy Ball or two, and it's hoo-ha! Bye-bye, Bruno. On to round 4 then, where your last member of the Elite Four is Koga. In this one, you get a special attack boost. I thought that Koga used mainly physical strikers, but in this one it turns out his Venomoth is a special striker. So I took him on with a team of Blue and Pidgeot, Xerneas and Professor Sycamore, and Signa, Suit, Elasa and Rotom. Resist the temptation here to go with Skylar and Swanna. Yes, they're flying type. Yes, they're an amazing support. But they only give defense boosts. And if Venomoth is using special attacks, it's not going to do anything for you. Whereas Sycamore, after his sync move, gives a +6 to special defense. And that's going to be a lot more valuable to you. So Blue starts off with his Smelgulators and an Air Slash as his third move. Elasa raises special attack. She uses a Thunder Shock. She doesn't get any refreshes. Xerneas is using Dazzling Gleam all of the way through. don't use your World is Vast yet. Xerneas gets the sync move to provide that special attack boost, and speed boost and special defense boost, so all useful to have in this round. The only thing with this team is you get a bit of overlap between Elesa raising special attack, Xerneas raising special attack off of his sync move, so the main reason I like Elesa in there is for breathtaking though, so hopefully that means that the overlap isn't too much of an issue. So with blue, you're using Air Slash, hopefully that can get some flinching going on, get you ahead of that sync move countdown for the enemy. Elesa is using Breathtaking for that accuracy boost, put it on Pidgeot so that that accuracy boost and also that sync move countdown. Xerneas is doing some Horn Leech to recover some of his health. If he's at full health, then you go with Moonblast, very simple. Your next sync move goes to blue and Pidgeot to get Mega Pidgeot onto the field so that you can start using Hurricane. His sync move is obviously very powerful. I think it took out both of the sides for me and just left Venomoth in the middle by itself. It's at this stage that I would recommend setting the World is Vast before Koga gets his sync move in there so that you get that healing going a little bit early. With blue, you're using Hurricane, Xerneas is using Horn Leech, Elesa is using Thundershock, that's assuming she hasn't got any breathtaking refreshes. I didn't get any in this one, so why should you? Why should you? But your Hurricane's going to be enough. With the special defense boost from Xerneas' sync move, it's going to mean that Koga's sync move, it doesn't do too much. Well, it does a decent amount of damage, but it's got no follow-up because Xerneas can tank quite easily, and that just means Hurricane, and you hear a very faint as it sends him flying off into the distance. Finally, we're on to round 5, where your permanent condition is a physical attack reduction. I chose the optional condition of permanent field effects. I was going to go with Lucas and make it Dragon Zone and try and be like, yeah, I pulled this guy, let's see what he can do. That didn't quite work for me, so my final team that I went with was Cyrus and Palkia, Lizia and Altaria, and Cygnus Blue and Blastoise. Now, Lizia is the key to this one. I don't think I've actually said that before, but Lance, before his sync move, will put a crit shield up, which is immensely frustrating to go up against. But Lizia has Defog, which will remove that and make the battle, smooth sailing-ish, as much as it can be against the champion of a region. So because it's permanent field effects, I started to the top with Blastoise as soon as I could. Palkia's using Water Pulse to start off with, Lizia's using Twister, hoping to get some maybe flinching damage in there. With blue, after you set to the top, you're using X defense. You've got to have that defense high because if Lance comes in with a big Draco Meteor, that can do a lot of damage. So a few times it one-shotted the support that I'd gone in with. Be very wary of that. That's why you don't want to use Spotlight Please here, because if it goes onto Altaria, boom, gone. And you don't get to use that defog later in the battle. So when you come down to that first sync move, goes to blue, as always, because it gives you that team endurance. After that, he's using any more X defenses, maybe to the top if you don't have the move gauge or water pulse. Cyrus moves on to using Spatial Rend, not Special Rend. I would recommend maybe don't use New World Order, because I think one of blue's passives can raise the team's special attack, so rely on that. Where Lizia comes into her own is on its final move before its sync move. Lance is going to use his critical hit shield, so you'll know when it's coming. When you see it up there, immediately you want to queue up Defog to get rid of that. Even if you have to delay your sync move to do it, it's worth it. So hopefully with no crit hit shield, you're going to come in with your sync move with Cyrus and Palkia, newly at 6x, and it's going to do bish bash bosh, lots of damage going all over the place. And then a few more Spatial Rends, a few more Twisters in there, and that's going to take out the probably less than 10% health that all of them should have after Cyrus's sync move. Blue goes down, it happens, he's a support, that's what he's there for, but even that couldn't help Lance. And there you have it, that's another 10k point run for the Johto region. We're back in Johto for another week next week, so if you're having trouble, you know where to come. So with the Dreams of the Void, you had 2 coins up for grabs if you could do the battle challenge with certain conditions, and those conditions were 3 Sinnoh types and 3 Dragon types. I didn't get around to doing it before I recorded last week's, so I was like, right, okay, let's find a strategy, let's go for it. And I had it all queued up, 3 Dragons, 3 Sinnoh. I only went and changed it. They changed it to 2 Dragons, 2 Sinnoh. And it's like, I'd already done that. I had that ready for last week's video, so what the hell? But we got a gem compensation for it, and I'd already done it. So if you want to be a badass like me and do the 3 challenge anyway, here we go. For Sinnoh, I used Palkia, Dawn and Torterra, and Cynthia and Garchomp. So you start off doing Water Pulse with Palkia, Cynthia has trainer moves to raise her stats, Dawn is using X defense and a Razor Leaf if she doesn't get refreshes. First sync move goes to Dawn. In the second round, you want to use New World Order with Palkia to raise that special attack. You can use a Good as New onto Palkia to boost its health back up again. Other than that, Razor Leaf, any more trainer moves with Cynthia, or Stomping Tantrum. I think that's its 2-bar move. But it's all about getting down to that second sync move with Cyrus intact and unleashing a big old 6x sync move, which is going to wipe out the other team. That was the easy one. Dragon one, a little bit more difficult, because if you didn't pull for Lucas, there's only 1 Dragon type trainer from the Sinnoh region that's going to get that boost. But the team I went with was Cyrus and Palkia again, Drake and Salamence, and then Lizia and Altaria. So the reason Lizia and Altaria are in there this time is for Spotlight Please. So we're making full use of her kit this week. I put Palkia as my first target, which I wouldn't usually recommend, but because of that Sinnoh boost for this battle, he's bulkier than either of the other 2, and he's more likely to survive some of the attacks coming his way. With this one, you start off with New World Order straight away to boost up that special attack. Then you go to work on your Spatial Wrens. Salamence is using X Defense and Hard to Starboard. Be a bit careful when you use your Hard to Starboard, because you're going to want that move gauge boost at some point. Altaria is using Twister all the way through. Hold fire on that Spotlight Please to start off with, you're going to want to use it later. Palkia uses that sync move, 6x, lots of damage. After he's used his sync move, that's when you want to use your Spotlight Please to take some of the heats off of him and make sure he's not taking that big damage. Salamence is using up any trainer moves that are left over and then going for Dragon Claw or Dragon Breath. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference either way. Palkia, Spatial Rend all the way through. Lizia is using obviously at least 1 Spotlight Please. Maybe use another one if you want to boost up that defense all the way, and then a Twister. But if you can get to that second sync move before the enemy gets to its first one, that's going to wipe out the enemy team. I'm not sure whether you can do it with the enemy getting their sync move in before you get your second one in, so you might have to do it a few times to get that timing right. But it's not as difficult as some of the other extreme challenges that we've had in the past. Speaking of extreme challenges, we've got the Team Galactic Takedown, which is a new extreme battle event. There's 2 rounds to it, like previous extreme battle events, a region in particular, this time Sinnoh, by the way, not Soho. All of your Sinnoh pairs are going to get a boost for this one. So I did the first round with Dawn as my support, and then dual strikers of Cynthia and Barry. That worked reasonably well. I managed to get through it. Didn't work so well the second time around, so I had to chop and change a little bit, and I ended up going with Dawn and Torterra as my support, Barry and Empoleon as my striker, and then May and Swampert to set Rain in there. So you start off using No Hesitation with Barry, X Defense with Dawn, and Muddy Water with Swampert, all the way down to that first sync move. Goes to Dawn for that 6x privilege bonus. Then you're starting off with Bubble Beam with Barry. May is using Ready for This or Muddy Water depending on the move gauge. and she's doing that all the way through until her last move before the second sync move. Then she's going to use Rain Dance to set the rain and power up all of Barry's move. Dawn is going to be using Razor Leaf or any X defenses she's got left over. Now the important thing here is that May is going to feint to the sync move, whatever happens. Even if she's full health, she's still going to feint. So don't bother using Good as New on her, save it for either Dawn or for Barry. When that enemy sync move comes, it's going to do a lot of damage. Obviously takes out May, leaves Barry and Dawn quite low on health. But because Barry's dropping the big old Barry Bomb, does lots of damage to the enemy team too, and it shouldn't take more than a few more rounds of mop-up duty to win the battle and to win all of those tasty gems. Xerneas and Sycamore have returned in the legendary stories. That means that there's still 2 more remaining, so the 2 will be Solgaleo and Zamazamista and Hop. So this is a good one because it's going to give you that fantastic support that Xerneas is. I recommend looking up some good grids for him as well, because gridded he becomes very powerful with Horn Leech. It's good times all round. There's a full force battle in there. I've said in the past I love full force battles. I hate them though when the enemy has poison and then go viral. That's a bad time. But I used a dark type team to do some levelling up of Sawyer, Sydney and Master Royal to start off with, and then when they'd all fainted I went with Anniversary Steven as my main striker to finish that one off. It shouldn't be too difficult, you should be able to do that reasonably easily. We've also got a Team Skull crash course, which means your boy Guzma is back in the house. I was doing the 10 stamina battles to try and get up to 50 to unlock all of the little scenes. I thought maybe after you unlock the last one you'd get like a battle challenge and then a daily challenge as well. Turns out you don't, so just go through it normally as you would. There's plenty of rewards in there. I think maybe this was one of those on the map last time it was released, so you go through the map and unlock different areas. Never sure how much of a fan I am of those, so I think it's better this way. That would also explain why there's no challenge this time, so yeah, your boy. You should have your results from the New Year's login raffle. I won 300 gems, so absolute bottom tier prize, but hey, what can you do? You didn't have to pay to enter and you didn't, lose anything. I don't usually post my sync scouts, but I thought this one was quite special. So I was pulling for Lucas and this happened. 2 in a row! Well, what are the chances? I probably should have worked out what the chances are. He's like 1%. So it's 1% and then 1%. So 0.01%? Maybe. Scientists maintain that the answer was lost centuries ago. But there you have it, that's another week that was on Pokemon Masters X. Next week we get the legendary Gauntlet, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, hopefully I'll have a few tips for you in there of how I did that. Might have to do a separate video on that because it might be too long for this one. But that's for the week that will be. Thank you for joining me for the week that was. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. You're well past the 90-second mark, so probably makes sense to follow me on Twitter. I'm SEOM_YT. You can like this video, you can subscribe to the channel so that when the next week that was comes along, you'll be able to watch it and see all the tips and tricks. But thank you very much for watching this video, and goodbye.